This video is made possible by my brand new wallpaper pack, Oblivion. Available, first link down in the description below. What's going on, guys? Today we are talking about the brand new M4 iPad Pro. So over the past few weeks now, I've been using this thing on a daily basis, and at this point, I have some very strong thoughts about it. So in today's video, I want to talk about the things I absolutely love about this brand new iPad, as well as some things I wish were a little bit different, or maybe even a little bit better about it as well. Because let's be honest, at this point, Apple offers a ton of different types of iPads. So this one isn't meant for everybody out there. And like everything, it has its pros and cons. Oh yeah, and I should mention, I picked up the 11-inch version of the iPad in that space black colorway, along with the two accessories, the Pencil Pro and the brand new Magic Keyboard, which we'll be talking about those. Now, since you guys are here, be sure to drop this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. We are on the road to hitting 100,000, which is just crazy. So make sure you're subscribed. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the things that I love about the brand new M4 iPad Pro. Now, the first thing that I love is the new display on these iPad Pros. They're using this new technology called tandem OLED, which basically means it's two different layers of an OLED screen, and that allows it to have that amount of brightness. And let's be honest here, even looking at the M1 iPad Pro or even the M2 iPad Pro, I think that's something that kind of separates iPads from every other tablet on the market. They are some of the best looking displays anywhere on anything, and this one is no different. The colors look amazing, the screen can get really bright, which helps when you are outdoors or even on the go. I use my iPad for everyday things like anyone, consuming content, admin stuff such as emails, social media, watching YouTube videos, or obviously, since I am in the content creation space, I wanted to test out especially these iPad Pros doing things like photo and video editing as well. But that is always one of my favorite parts about these iPads is the screens just look amazing. And since I am someone who is in the creative space where I'm either watching back videos that I created, or maybe I'm just consuming content for fun, or even if maybe I'm editing photos in Lightroom, having a gorgeous display, and I mean truly one of the best displays on the market, is a huge plus. So obviously that is a very good part about the brand new iPad. Next up, we gotta talk about how thin and light this new iPad is. Now, I already thought the last iPads were really thin, but then Apple had to kind of outdo themselves and make this the thinnest Apple product ever. And it really is crazy how thin it is. Now, I'm someone who always travels with my MacBook since I am doing so much of kind of intense creative work. So one of my drawbacks with iPads in general, right, which we'll talk about this more here at the end, is the fact that sometimes the iPad, especially the larger models, do take up room in your backpack. And whenever you're traveling or packing a camera bag, you have a bunch of different cameras, tech, maybe you have to bring your laptop too. Being able to make this device even thinner and even smaller actually does go a long way. Also just feels amazing in the hand as well. So being able to make it thinner without drastically affecting the battery life, that's a huge W for me. So let's talk accessories for a second here, because I think that is truly one of the stars of the show here. So we have the brand new Magic Keyboard, and I actually had the previous Magic Keyboard before with one of my last iPads. This one has an aluminum backing, so it feels more premium, feels a little bit more sturdy in my opinion too, which if I'm again cramming this in my camera bag or in my backpack, wherever, I want to make sure this thing is secure. It also has a larger trackpad, which is obviously a really nice feature. You get haptic feedback with that as well, so you can actually feel when you're clicking on things. Then you have that new function row, and we finally get that escape button on the Magic Keyboard. You have that USB-C on the side, so you can plug it right in, keep it charged up, and this feels really premium and really put together. And truthfully, I think this could replace an actual laptop for a lot of different users out there. This makes it a really, really good combo. All right, so real quick, I want to talk about my brand new wallpaper pack, Oblivion. Now, this includes 20 fully custom designs, both vertical and horizontal. So it's intended for your phones, tablets, and even desktop computers. And we put a ton of time and effort into them. They're not like anything else you see out there on the market. You probably see them throughout this video. You probably see them on my monitors back here. And fun fact, the colorways are actually inspired by my favorite shoes right now. If you guys want to pick them up, first link down in the description below will take you over there. It's a great way to show support for me and the channel. If you pick them up, be sure to tag me, shoot me a message. I appreciate you. Now let's get back to the video. All right, so next up we have the Pencil Pro, which honestly, I wasn't sure if that was the actual name when I first heard it, but it is true. The technology in this thing is actually crazy. It has some new features compared to the last pencils. It has haptic feedback, which I'm a huge fan of. It also has a squeeze gesture that brings up different tools depending on what app you're in. Then it even has different things like barrel rolls, which is really handy, especially if you're someone who draws often. I personally wasn't expecting a new pencil, but this thing actually is really nice, especially for people in the creative space, specifically people that are using their iPad to draw. Another thing that's actually pretty small that ends up being nice is the fact that they moved that front-facing camera from portrait to the landscape side, especially considering a lot of people are going to be using the Magic Keyboard with this iPad. It just makes it a little bit more natural to unlock your iPad, or if you're FaceTiming or on a Zoom call, whatever. It seems like a no-brainer, but for whatever reason, it took a while to get here. So yeah, that's nice too. And then obviously a really nice thing too is they added in the brand new M4 chip, which kind of powers this entire device. The M1 was crazy powerful. The M2 was crazy powerful. They skipped over the M3 and went straight to the M4. So you know this thing is absolutely packed with power. This is going to allow you to do pretty much anything you can throw at the iPad. I know people who have completely at this point forgotten their laptops or MacBooks and use their iPad for everything, including things like even video editing. So whether you are working in Procreate, Final Cut Pro, DaVinci, Lightroom, truthfully anything that harnesses a lot of power, maybe even some of these new games that are out, I don't think you're even going to come close to harnessing all the power that this chip has, even doing some of the most demanding tasks that you can do on an iPad. And also, I think in my opinion, having a really powerful chip, maybe even more powerful than what you need today, just also helps future-proof you a bit. So if you decide to keep this iPad for years down the road, it's not going to start getting slow on you right away. This thing is truly powerful. All right, okay, so that is the good stuff, all right? And as good as this iPad is, there are some things I wish were a little bit different or maybe even a little bit better about the iPad. So let's go ahead and dive into those now. Now, since we just talked about the power of that M4 chip, let's go ahead and touch on it here a bit too. Here's the thing I'll say. Yes, it is nice that you get that M4 chip in this device. Yes, it makes it really powerful. Yes, it helps future-proof you some. But at the same time, you kind of ask yourself, do I even need that much power? And what I mean by that is the fact that I think people that still have the M2 chip iPad Pros, or honestly even the M1 chip iPad Pros, still feel like they haven't harnessed all the power that the iPad can have. So although it's nice and it is a nice headline that the M4 chip's in this new iPad Pro, I don't really know if it really matters or not, truthfully. So some of the other things I've mentioned in this video aren't really that important to you. I think a lot of people are actually going to go back and just pick up an M2 iPad Pro because it's going to be able to do a lot of the same things for you. And I don't think you're going to notice a power difference between the two models at all. So something just to keep in mind. Now for the next thing, as fun as it is to do creative work on the iPad Pro, it's definitely not optimal, at least for me and my workflow. Now at this point, I've been doing creative work for over 10 years now. I mean, actually, I think I'm gonna have to start bumping that number up to like 15 years now. And I'm someone who grew my creative career using a MacBook. But these iPads are so much fun. Just being able to edit those photos in Lightroom, the way that you kind of drag your finger or pencil across those settings and see in real time that image change, it's a different experience than using it on a MacBook or even a desktop computer. But if I'm working against a deadline for a client or even on myself, or if I have to edit, let's say 50 to 100 plus photos for a project, if I gotta get it done quickly and I gotta get it done right, I am 99 out of 100 times gonna reach for my MacBook Pro over the iPad just because I'm faster and I'm able to do more things at the same time. That doesn't mean you can't do it on this. That doesn't mean the iPad isn't capable of it. It just means it's gonna be a different workflow. Maybe you're gonna need some workarounds, or you might just be a little bit slower with your process on this. But if it's just for fun or just enjoyment, maybe that's totally okay. And obviously it's gonna be a little bit different for everyone out there and what your workflow and needs are. Now, another thing that's actually an interesting choice by Apple is the fact that they removed the ultra wide camera. Now, truthfully, I hardly ever use the cameras on an iPad. That's just not how I use these devices at all. If they offered an iPad Pro without any cameras that made that backing flush so you didn't have that camera bump, I would without a doubt choose that iPad. But it is always kind of interesting when Apple adds something and then they take it away. I'm sure a lot of people just weren't utilizing the ultra wide camera, but I will say, at least when you're talking iPhones, the ultra wide camera is my favorite camera, and I use that probably 8 out of 10 times. So personally, it's not a huge miss for me, but I bet some people actually really will miss it. All right, so kind of the biggest thing for me, right, is the Magic Keyboard, the size of the iPad. Is this thing replacing your laptop? Is it in addition to your laptop or MacBook? And here's kind of what I'll say. I personally have had a ton of different iPads over the years, different sizes, different models. I've used a keyboard, not used a keyboard. I've had a ton of different MacBooks. I've had a ton of different iPhones. For me, my iPad is never ever going to replace my MacBook Pro, at least not anytime soon that I can see. And obviously it's not gonna replace my iPhone either. So that kind of leaves it in this middle area, right? If I wanna be super productive and do actual creative work, I'm pretty much every time gonna be using my MacBook Pro. If I'm hanging out on social media or scrolling, consuming content, most of the time I'm actually using my iPhone. The one exception to that I would say is I absolutely love watching videos, YouTube videos, Netflix, YouTube TV even, on the iPad Pro, especially with this gorgeous display. But you know, it's great that Apple made the new iPad much thinner and much lighter. But again, once you add that Magic Keyboard, this thing is not crazy small anymore. Yes, it is a somewhat small package, but again, it's not replacing my MacBook. So if I am traveling or I am going somewhere, I'm most of the time always bringing my MacBook with me. So that means I'm now bringing my MacBook as well as an iPad with a keyboard. And that's just almost like two devices that kind of cancel each other out. And when push comes to shove, I'm picking the MacBook over this. And that's kind of why I've kind of been gravitating more towards the iPad mini over the last couple of years, because this is much smaller. This thing is tiny, especially I'm not using a keyboard with this. And if I'm traveling with my MacBook in my camera bag or backpack, this thing slides in there in addition with no problems at all. I don't even have to think about it. So this is not a good in addition device to a MacBook in my opinion, at least with this combo. But if you aren't someone who needs to travel with their MacBook, maybe this does do enough for you. Maybe when you're traveling, you just need to respond to emails, or you are just using it for entertainment. Maybe this is your device. But someone who is coming from a content creation space or doing professional photo and video work, this is not the device that I'm relying on. So it just really comes down to how you use stuff. Actually, a good friend of mine, Blink, he actually tattooed a bunch of us in my apartment last year. That was actually a really fun time. But he is someone who actually travels on the go, uses their iPad with the Apple Pencil in real time, drawing out tattoos and sketching these things out. This would make so much sense for him. So it really just comes down to how you use your iPad, what you use it for. Are you trying to have it be a computer replacement when you're on the go? Or maybe you do just want to have a bunch of different tech and bring everything with you. But personally, for me, this iPad Pro is amazing. I love the screen. I love how light it is. But just for me, in my workflow and how I utilize the iPad on a daily basis, for me, I'm personally still going for the iPad mini. I was actually hoping they would refresh this one this year, but it looks like they didn't. I'm hoping for one maybe later this year or even next year, because I feel like actually a lot of people rock with the iPad mini. So really for you, I would strongly think about how you actually use your iPad, how you picture yourself using it on a week-to-week basis. Because I know a lot of people that pick up an iPad, it sounds amazing, and then after a few weeks of fun, it just kind of starts collecting dust. But when you find that right iPad that fits you and your workflow and what you actually use it for, it's one of the best devices you can have. So you just got to kind of weigh your options and find what's right for you. But guys, that is going to be it for me in today's video. Be sure to drop me any questions you have on the new iPad Pro down in the comments below. I'll be responding to everybody. As I mentioned, first link down in the description will take you over to my brand new wallpaper pack, and it's a great way to support me and the channel. And we put a ton of time and effort into them. I'm so stoked. Drop this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.